Hey everyone, I've got about 32 minutes or so before my bus arrives, or even before my mom calls up and says, hey, she's gonna come get me. Yeah, basically she had to go help out my second oldest sister. She had to go and help out my second oldest sister by taking my second oldest sister's youngest son, who started 5th grade, to his swimming lessons today because, well, she has to work. My oldest nephew, her oldest son, doesn't get home from his job until about 5:30, and vice versa. So with that said, I've decided that since I got off at 5:30, I would take this time to kind of do some audio vids, maybe some on-screen vids, but most importantly, I want to talk about two events upcoming this weekend, courtesy of WWE, and that is NXT Takeover Brooklyn 3 and SummerSlam. Now, NXT Brooklyn 3, and I do apologize if I'm stuttering a little bit, I'm tired, it's been a long day, seems to have only 5 to 6 matches. According to Deluxe Man, it seemed to be 6 matches, but it's only 5. That's all he read off on his prediction, and that's all I read on Wikipedia. And I have to agree with Deluxe Man here. This seems to be a very solid show. The reason I say that is because the matches all seem to have potential to be good, if not show stealers, and all the matches have the potential, if you will, all of them have the potential, if you will, to not just be match of the night or match of the year, but basically make NXT Takeover Brooklyn 3 match of the year. That's what they have the potential to. That's what they have the potential to do. They have that potential to make NXT Takeover Brooklyn 3 probably the show of the year for WWE. Why? Because all matches have a legit reasoning behind them. They have a legit reasoning behind them. They have a reason for happening, and just by the fact that people prefer NXT right now over the main roster, that should tell you something right there. But let's take a look. But with that said, let's take a look at why this could be the show of the year for WWE. Once again coming from NXT. First of all, you have Johnny Gargano, sorry if I pronounce his name wrong, aka Johnny Wrestling, against Andrade Cien, accompanied by Thea Trinidad, or formerly known as Thea Trinidad in TNA. Now known as Zelvady Vega, I think, or something. But yeah, she is accompanying him to ringside. Now she's kind of like at his side, making him sort of like the playboy of NXT. Anyway, this match is happening because I think Johnny wanted an opponent, or vice versa, for Takeover, and Regal gave them both what they wanted. Deluxe Man says you got to give it to John. That he predicts Johnny Gargano. Again, I'm sorry if I pronounced the name wrong, but Johnny Wrestling himself will win the match. And that's probably a good prediction, because if you're going to start pushing this guy as a singles competitor and possibly groom him to be ready for the main roster very soon, then this is the best way to do it. You put him in a match on a big show like this, probably a biggest show for your brand of the year, which is Takeover Brooklyn. And yeah, I totally agree that, you should, in a sense, put Johnny Wrestling over. You should put Johnny Gargano over Andreas Cena, because maybe it's just me, but has anybody else noticed that Vega, as she calls herself, Vega, V if you will for short, or Trinidad, has enjoyed being around Sienna Donne. She's enjoyed being around him, but it seems that she's more along the lines of somebody that would turn on him at a drop of a hat if he fails. So I look at the fact that this could start that this could start that story angle. This could start Sienna turning against Andrade, or at least starting to turn her back on him because he lost to someone like Johnny Gargano at Takeover Brooklyn. Now, do I expect the match to be good? Yes. Both men's backgrounds have been explained, have been looked into. People know about them. I expect a good match. But I'm not going to go back and forth on this. I think if you're going to push Johnny Wrestling, then you go with Johnny Wrestling. You go with Johnny Gargano for the win. Now, if you book him to lose, then I say the best way to book him to lose is you have Tommaso Ciampa make an appearance, or have Tommaso Ciampa's music hit. You have him make an appearance on crutches or whatever. This distracts Johnny enough to where Andrade Cien gets the win. If you want to put the heel over instead of the babyface. So if you want to go in that direction. Now I do expect this match to open the show. It's a last-minute match that was added, but I do expect this match to open the show and really get people on their feet. And I think the best way to get them on their feet is not just with this match, but the best way to get them on their feet and keep them on their feet is to have Johnny Wrestling go over in this opening match. That's what I expect. Next up, let's talk about championships. Let's talk about the NXT Tag Team Championships. The Authors of Pain with Paul Ellery against Sanity with Eric Young and Nikki Cross. I'll say this. The Authors of Pain have definitely shown to be one of the most improved tag teams one of the most improved young tag teams to come along in a long time. And when you look at the fact that they're paired with Precious Paul Ellery, a guy that was mostly well known for bringing the Road Warriors to the forefront, the Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal, and making them into a household name. When you think about that for one iota, it shows you that the WWE doesn't just have faith in Ellery being the representative, the manager, the guidance for this tag team, but they look at the Authors of Pain as being the next Legion of Doom. And if you have someone like Paul Ellery at their side and possibly putting his own stamp of approval on this tag team, then who's to say the Authors of Pain are going to lose their tag team titles to Sanity? Here's why they might lose the tag team titles to Sanity. The WWE obviously has their eyes on Killian Dane and possibly Alexander Wolf. They have their eyes on them, most importantly Killian Dane. I mean, they talked about him a lot during WrestleMania, during the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. They allowed him to get to the final three. They basically booked the guy and talked about the guy like he was a freaking big deal. The only way I see the Authors of Pain losing the tag team championships tag team championships is one or two reasons. It's for two reasons, actually. One, because the WWE is so high on sanity, most importantly Killian Dane for that matter. And secondly, because the Authors of Pain may be coming up to the main roster with the next superstar shakeup. Think about it. Think of it this way. You wonder who the New Day could feud with should they beat the Usos at SummerSlam. You wonder that. You wonder who they could feud with, right? If it's not going to be the Usos. Some people say, well, it could be the Ascension. Some say it could be Bazango. It could be this or that. It could be the Hype Bros before they get split up. It could be this or that. I look at the fact that if you're going to feud them with a tag team, you either, one, have to during the superstar shakeup, you either have to, one, send the Revival over to SmackDown, okay? Or two, you bring up a new tag team. And the best option to me for the New Day is the Authors of Pain. Because if you're so high up on this tag team to the point that you paired them with Paul Ellery, a guy whose stamp of approval means a lot when it comes to legendary tag team wrestling, alongside the likes of a Jim Cornette, if you will, or even a J.J. Dillon or what have you, or Jimmy Hart, you name it. To have someone like Precious Paul Ellery, a guy that, like I said, was known for leading the Road Warriors to the forefront. To legendary status. Helping them win multiple tag team championships from all over the world. Every promotion they've been in, every country they've been at, they competed in. If that doesn't show you how high WWE is on the Authors of Pain, I don't know what does. So to me, the only reason I think the AOP would lose the NXT tag team titles is because they're going to get called up and they'll be the next challengers for the New Day on SmackDown. That's the only reason. That is the only reason. Now, if they keep it on the Authors of Pain, then that means one or two things. That means maybe maybe they feel the Authors of Pain are not ready yet, or two, they're going to bring up Sanity. Because believe me, when I say that the women's division on SmackDown and Raw both need some kind of injection of unpredictability, as well as that tag team divisions, and even the mid-card to main event areas, then Sanity would be that injection all those areas on both shows would need. Honest to God. But the question is, will that happen? Will Sanity lose? If Sanity loses on Saturday, does that mean they'll go into the main roster? I can't say. I can't say whether or not it's true or it's not. But I will say this. NXT Takeover Brooklyn 3 definitely is going to have a lot. It's definitely going to be historic for the fact that it could be the last time you see some of these stars, these men and women, competing in the NXT ring for quite some time. And that goes double when it comes to this tag team title match. So, my prediction, though, is it's kind of a toss-up, but I'm going to go with Sanity to actually beat the Authors of Pain. And I expect after this, the Authors of Pain to be called up to the main roster and to be called up to the SmackDown brand. And that, to me, folks, will be the New Day's next opponents, the next challengers for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. That's a fact. It's either going to be them or it's going to be Sanity. But my prediction is going to be the Authors of Pain. I just feel it. So, my prediction, Sanity becomes tag team champions. As a result, the Authors of Pain go to the main roster, go to the main roster a la SmackDown Live. and be the New Day's next challengers. But then again, it could be Sanity that does, but we'll have to wait and see. But I think it's going to be the Authors of Pain. Now, speaking of the match, though, I know a lot of people, like the Lex Man, are kind of like iffy about it because it's a match that, well, you know, it's not really. It's just four brawlers, actually. Four guys that just brawl. They maybe they have some surprising wrestling capabilities, which honestly, when you take a look at some of them, like Killian Dane and Alexander Wolf, that you know, I don't think I could say any more because I think they do have some abilities. But I can understand because this seems more like a Vince McMahon type of matchup you would see on the main roster. I can get it. Not a lot of people are fans of heel versus heel, or anti-heel or anti-face, semi-anti-face, anti-heel or whatever, going against heel. I know not a lot of people are fans of that, but it makes intriguing for intriguing situations. But I look at the fact that I think they could. I think honestly, these four men are going to surprise us. I really do. I really think they're going to surprise us, and in the end, like I said, I believe Sanity is going to go over, and it's going to be as a result of the Authors of Pain going to the main roster a la SmackDown Live. Now, speaking of other matchups, how about one that the Lex Man almost seemingly puts someone like the Lex Man in any pure hardcore wrestling fan in heaven for? Puts them in heaven for who knows how long the match is going to go. Any pure hardcore wrestling fan or pure hardcore wrestling enthusiast and fan of strong style out of Japan and even the UK, this match is not only a dream matchup becoming reality, but this is a matchup that, like I said, puts you in hardcore wrestling heaven, front and center, and that's Hideo Itami against Aleister Black, aka Kenta against Tommy End. Two of the hardest hitting strikers from the respective countries, and two of the hardest hitting strikers out of the respective promotions where they become top names, where they became top draws. You know, you take a look at Kenta, became a huge draw in New Japan, multiple times junior heavyweight champion. I think he even maybe had a cup of tea or maybe sniffed the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. I'm not really sure. But here's a guy that was one of the most popular draws in IWGP New Japan Pro Wrestling, and revered as one of the hardest hitting strikers, and along with Shinsuke Nakamura was known as the King of Strong Style, was known as one of the founding kings of Strong Style. Now you put him in the ring against Tommy End, who is known in the UK and all of Europe, if not some of the world, and even Japan, is one of the heaviest hitting, hardest hitting strikers professional wrestling has ever seen. I mean, the fact that this guy was actually put into get this, during the UK Championship tournament earlier this year, he was put into somewhat of a marquee matchup against Neville. Neville, of all people. Someone that was already on the main roster, already established himself and everything, and he gave Neville a fight. Yeah, he lost, but he gave Neville a fight. The point is, he has been presented as virtually unbeatable and unstoppable. Basically taking on the world's very best strikers and fighters and wrestlers, from Bobby Fisches to Chris Heroes, Casio Onos, Kyle O'Reilly's, the list goes on, and now you put him in the ring with Hideo Itami. And again, this is a hardcore wrestling fan dream come true. Now, I definitely agree with the Lex Man and anybody else that's predicting that this is going to be a match of the night, show stealer, because quite honestly, it is. It's going to steal the show. It's going to be hard hitting. It's going to be in your face. And basically, it's going to deliver exactly what fans are expecting. Now, do I expect maybe there might be some color involved in this match? Possibly. Because if both men are allowed to let loose, expect that to happen. But who wins in the end? Who wins in the end? Who walks out with a hand raised high? Well, here's the thing. You want to keep knowing how WWE, depending on whatever brand someone's involved in, whenever they want to keep the momentum behind somebody, they want to do it because they're planning something big for them. Aleister Black, aka Tommy End, has been rumored by various sources on the inside, if you will, to only have to be in NXT for a short amount of time. We don't know what that short amount of time is. We don't know how long that short amount of time is going to be, but he's not supposed to be there for too much longer, and he's supposed to be going up to the main roster very soon, and probably pushed very heavily, if you catch my drift. In other words, he's not supposed to remain in NXT for too long. He's supposed to actually move up to the main roster very soon. But here's the problem. A lot of fans may be happy about that, but a lot of fans will be afraid that he may not be utilized right. And what they want before that is for him to probably have a run with the NXT Championship. You know, I don't blame you for wanting that. Honestly, I don't. But if the reports going around is he's not going to be in NXT for very much longer, and today is only temporary to set him up and get him ready for the main roster, then maybe they won't mistreat him. Maybe they'll look at Aleister Black, Tommy End, and say, hey, this guy's exactly what we need. He's going to be what we need to draw in some new faces and bring back some familiar faces as far as the fans go to the product. But here's the thing. How do you bring him in? Do you bring him in undefeated? Do you bring him up to the main roster still undefeated? Or do you bring him up to the main roster with his only loss in NXT being to Hideo Itami? You see, that's the question. Do you keep him undefeated? Do you keep him that badass MFer that you want him to be coming up to the main roster, depending on what show you put him on? Or do you allow him to suffer the loss to Hideo Itami to help push and build Hideo Itami's new persona and gimmick, or basically his rediscovered persona and gimmick that he had previously as Kenta in Japan? Do you have Aleister Black lose to Hideo Itami to keep that going? Or do you have Aleister Black win to keep his momentum going so that when he comes up to the main roster, he's still looked at as a big deal, and that you could and that maybe one of his first matches could be against, let's say, a Kevin Owens, who maybe gets upset that he couldn't win back the U.S. title, and basically Kevin Owens challenges anybody, out comes Aleister Black, and Aleister Black kicks his ass if you put him on SmackDown Live. Or if you put him on Raw, do you have him be the surprise challenger for The Miz, and The Miz kicks his ass? Or not the surprise challenger for The Miz. What I'm saying is, I got a little distracted there. I thought that was my mom's car showing up, but anyway. Do you have him show up on Raw in the same way, but as a surprise challenger, maybe for Miz's Intercontinental Championship, if you don't give it to Jason Jordan, and you have Aleister Black basically kick the hell out of The Miz with ease and become Intercontinental Champion? Or do you bring him in to do that to Miz after Miz loses the Intercontinental title? I know, Miz calls out whoever is out there so he can take out his frustrations. Out comes Black, and Black kicks his ass, as well as the rest of the Miztourage. Do you do that to basically reestablish that he's still basically to establish him as the same badass that you saw in NXT. Now you're going to see him on Raw because he just beat the hell out of the entire Miztourage, or you do what SmackDown Live where he's beating the crap out of Kevin Owens. Or something like that, for example. See, the possibilities are endless. They are endless, if you will. Very much so. And as far as Hideo Itami goes, you know, people say, like the Lex Man, he says, you know, Hideo Itami can suffer the loss. It's not going to hurt him. That might be true, but do you make him lose to the point that even if it makes him still look strong in the end, and that maybe fans start giving up on him? No. I think what you do is you use this loss to have him go after the NXT Championship against whoever the champion may be. And I'll talk about that in a moment. But honestly, my prediction here is yes, I think it's going to steal the show. I think it's going to be hard-hitting. I think we're going to see some color. I think these guys are going to be allowed to be let loose a little bit. And I predict Aleister Black to go over. I really do. Next match is for the NXT Women's Championship. Asuka and Ember Moon. Wow. Well, let me put it to you like this. Again, WWE puts themselves in a bind. Do you keep the belt on Asuka? Let her reign continue? Or do you put it on Ember Moon and send Asuka to the main roster? Because that's where everybody's hoping she goes. She's already made appearances at main roster live event shows, so why not have her finally go there officially? I mean, when you think about it, even if she loses, she's going to still be treated as something special because here would be a woman that's the longest reigning champion in recent WWE modern history. And it took someone like Ember Moon to basically beat her in what could be a show stealer for the NXT Women's Championship. It took a unique talent like Ember Moon to do that. But then again, do you not give it to Asuka? Do you not give it to Ember? Do you keep Asuka going? And maybe you send Ember to the main roster. Again, the possibilities are endless. But if I'm WWE, I don't think it's going to be a major loss. I think it's actually going to help her. And I predict I'm going to come out and say Ember Moon becomes champion. And I don't think it's going to hurt Asuka because her reign, her records-breaking reign is going to help her be looked at as something special when she goes to the main roster, because you know damn well that the people on the main roster, whether she's on SmackDown Live or Raw, are going to want to continue, are going to want to replicate what happened in NXT with Asuka. You know that. So I expect Ember Moon to win, and I expect this to be one of the matches of the year, if not the night. And again, I don't think it's going to hurt Asuka in the end, because honestly, it's going to make her feel more special, because the word's going to come out that it took a special talent like Ember Moon to beat someone like Asuka. And again, like I said, you know damn well the people on both Raw and SmackDown are going to want to try to replicate what they saw in NXT with Asuka. So I expect Ember Moon to win. I predict it, and I expect this to be a show stealer. Then you get the main event for the NXT Championship. Drew McIntyre, Bobby Roode. Who do you go with? Well, people would like to see the glorious reign of Bobby Roode continue. But people would also like to see Drew McIntyre solidify his return, his rebirth in WWE with the NXT Championship. And again, this is a coin toss of a situation because it's a win-win either way. But a lot of people have said that Bobby Roode needs to go to the main roster. His time is now. He's been the champion. He's done a great job for almost a year, for half a year with that title. And now the time has come for him to go to the main roster and make something of himself there. And I agree with that. I really do. But when I look at Bobby Roode, the question is, where would he end up? I think SmackDown Live, the reason I've mentioned them a lot, doing this is because I think they could benefit from a lot of these NXT call-ups that are going to happen, especially the ones that I've mentioned, because they need the star power. They need the star power. They need the names. They need the roster to be something special, or to be built into something special and unique. And I think if Bobby Roode drops the NXT title to Drew McIntyre, Bobby Roode should go to SmackDown Live, and not automatically, but in the same situation with NXT, slowly be inserted into the main event slot. Not quickly, but as soon as possible. If anything, if you're going to have Bobby Roode challenge for a championship upon his debut on SmackDown Live, it's got to be for the U.S. Championship against AJ Styles. And then you use that to help him elevate to the WWE Championship. So, to me, I think Drew McIntyre is going to win. I think he's going to recertify himself. It's going to be a reestablishment for himself. And I think this is going to be Bobby Roode's exit, glorious exit out of NXT into the to the SmackDown Live roster, where I think slowly but surely he'll be in the main event slot, starting with a U.S. Championship run down the line. As a result, that will lead to the WWE Championship. So that's all I'm going to say on my predictions for NXT Takeover Brooklyn 3. Let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll talk to you later. Okay, guys, I did my predictions, my preview of NXT Takeover Brooklyn 3, and how I feel certain matches will, how I feel the certain outcome how I feel the outcome of certain matches, I should say, will occur. And I know some people may or may not agree with me, but hey, that's just my opinion. And just the fact that, we're supposed to get another superstar shakeup, it kind of makes sense that, the direction that I feel some of these matches may or may not go, kind of fits into the equation. But now we get to SummerSlam, and I know basically not a lot of people are looking forward to SummerSlam. They're not looking forward to it. They're not, like I said, I know not a lot of people are looking forward to SummerSlam as much as they are NXT, but I've got a feeling SummerSlam may surprise us. I don't know why that is, but it may surprise us. There are 12 matches on the card, but I think in a sense, we're probably only going to get 9 on the actual pay-per-view. I really do. And I think in a sense, not only are we going to get 9 on the actual pay-per-view, I think that's going to leave us with 3 on the kickoff show, on the pre-show. But yeah, there are literally 12 matches altogether. Now, if they do all 12 on the actual show, or at least 10 of them on the actual show, I'll be surprised. I would say, if anything, we might get 10 matches on the actual show. But with that said, let's take a look at the matches as we have them right now. And particularly, let's start off with what I consider one of the pre-show matches, or at least one of the matches that's going to end up on the pre-show. And that's going to be the New Day versus the Usos. This is just a tag team match for the SmackDown tag team titles. If it had any kind of gimmick to it, then I would expect maybe it would be on the actual pay-per-view. But I expect the SmackDown tag team title match to be one of the pre-show kickoff show matches, which tells me the New Day is going to retain. I mean, very rarely do they do a title change on a kickoff show unless they have some reason for it, or unless they want to get people's attention. So I don't think the New Day is going to lose here, especially if you just put the belts on them. And again, I believe what this does is it opens the doors for the New Day to move forward, possibly to feud with a new opponent. And as I said in my NXT prediction, I believe that new opponent is going to be the Authors of Pain. Another match that I feel is going to be on the pre-show is going to be the Cruiserweight Championship rematch between new champion Akira Tozawa and former champion Neville. Now, if they put this on the actual show, I'd be surprised, but I don't think so. I do believe that this will be the match that takes place before the actual pay-per-view begins. This will be the one that, along with the New Day and the Usos, will probably get them on their feet, get the fans on their feet. So here it's kind of hard to tell, because I think the only reason they did a title switch is to get people talking about the Cruiserweight division again, get people talking about 205 and Raw. So if that's the reason for the title switch happening, then I see Neville probably getting the belt back on the pre-show. Like I said, it rarely happens, but if a title change of any sorts happens on the pre-show this Sunday before SummerSlam, it'll be this one. It'll be the Cruiserweight Championship going back to Neville. Now, if they don't do this, then that definitely means that the next opponent for Akira Tozawa would be Tony Nese. Because obviously they're building Tony Nese up to be something big. And then what this would do with Neville is probably free him up to finally go back to the heavyweight division, or at least go back to that next, at least kind of be promoted to that next level, to where now he can compete for the Intercontinental Championship and maybe even the Universal Championship. So, again, I expect Neville to win it back, and if not, I expect this to be Neville's last match in the Cruiserweight division and him being elevated back up into heavyweight status. Now, as far as the other 10 matches, which, again, I'm assuming at most we'll get 10 matches on the actual pay-per-view. The first match that I think is going to be the official opener for the actual show itself, for the pay-per-view itself, SummerSlam itself, is going to be Big Cass and Big Show with Enzo in a cage. Now, obviously, WWE has it, has a lot of backing behind Big Cass. They want to see him succeed. They see him as this generation's Diesel, this generation's Kevin Nash. And Big Show, of course, he's probably in his twilight years. He's probably in his final year or years in the business. So it won't be appropriate, whether we like it or not, that he'd get on the actual pay-per-view. And on the actual pay-per-view, pass the torch to Big Cass. The only problem is, where does Enzo play a role in this? And apparently, a lot of people are speculating that Enzo's going to turn heel. He's going to turn against the Big Show and basically show that this whole thing with Cass has been a ruse, and that they fooled everybody, and that and that the whole thing was a ruse. And that setting people up, making them look like fools, like the fans, is, who they truly are, what they're truly about. So I would be all for it if they did that, because if I remember right, Enzo and Cass were heels as a tag team in NXT. They only grew in popularity because of the way their act was, the way the gimmick got over. That's the only reason they turned face. So I can definitely see them going heel here. I could see it. I think it would work. It would mean that a heel tag team would have to go face, and I think that heel tag team was going to be Gallows and Anderson. I'm just saying. But I predict Big Cass to come out on top here. It doesn't make any sense for him not to. So I expect Big Cass to come out on top. The next match is AJ Styles and Kevin Owens, with Shane McMahon as the referee for the United States Championship. There's speculation and rumors that we're going to get a Shane-Kevin altercation match, some kind of spiel down the line, and it's going to start with this matchup. I mean, we're already seeing the beginnings of it, the foundation being built for it, and it's going to culminate with this match. As we saw last week, the They're going to play up the history between AJ and Shane. You know, they're going to try to play up kind of dissension, distrust. But in the end, I think AJ is going to retain. It's going to lead to Kevin Owens and Shane having their feud being kicked off because of this. And we'll have to see where it goes from there. But here's where I think if WWE wants to show us, the fans, hey, you don't know us very well. You think, well, it's predictable. Here's where this is a match here, honestly, that they can use to show us that we don't know them, to where they can actually do something that fans, in a sense, have been waiting to see because they're used to seeing it, and that's Shane McMahon turning heel, and having him turn heel by aligning himself, by helping Kevin Owens become United States champion. You do that, if WWE does that, it shows us, the fans, that maybe we underestimated them. That just because we're thinking it might go one way, it goes another. But if they're still planning to do Owens and Shane down the line in a match, maybe No Mercy, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, what have you, then I expect AJ Styles to retain. But again, this would be the perfect opportunity for WWE to prove us wrong and show that maybe we don't know as much as we think we do. And that's by having Shane screw AJ out of the U.S. title. Another match from Raw another match from Raw is for the Raw Tag Team titles. Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose reunited as, I guess you could say, the Shield 2.0. Challenging Sheamus and Cesaro for the tag team titles. This is really interesting because there's a lot of stuff that WWE can do with this. They can either turn Dean heel and have him turn against Rollins and give Rollins a taste of his medicine, and give Rollins a taste of the medicine that Rollins gave him and Roman 3 years ago. Or you can have them become tag team champions, because really, what are you doing with, Sheamus and Cesaro as a tag team? I mean, yeah, let's be honest, they're only a tag team because they have nothing better for them to do. And they work together fine. But have you ever thought about what you plan to do after their reign as champions is over? Where do you go from there? Do you have them feud with the Revival once they get better? No. Do you have them feud with Anderson and Gallows? Maybe. What about the Hardys? Where do they fit into the equation? All these questions need to be answered. But we'll just have to wait and see. My prediction, I have to go with Rollins and Ambrose. I have to go with them becoming champions. I really do. Because what you could do is you could build up the fact that there's still a little bit of distrust between the two, especially Dean to Seth. And if you want to turn Dean heel on Seth down the line, do it in a match where it basically cost them the tag team titles. Where Dean's disdain for Seth and his distrust for Seth is grown so much that even though he's trying to put it to the side and he's trying to trust this guy, that in the end it just overwhelms him, and you can go from there. You can basically say that he's so consumed with this hatred or this disdain for Seth, and he still can't get the image of what Seth did out of his mind, that he'd rather lose the tag team titles than keep holding them alongside someone that he can't trust. So you could do it that way, and it would work. But again, I'm going with Seth and Dean just for the fact that if you're going to try to do a slow Shield reunion, whether you incorporate Roman in there or not, this is the best start to do it, and the best way to do it is to give the tag team titles to them. Because then you have the Revival you can have them go after, you can have them feud with the Club. People would love to see that. The Bullet Club against the Shield in some shape or form. What better dream match could you ask for? I'm just saying. But we'll have to wait and see. But my prediction is I would go with Seth and Dean. Now, turning over back to SmackDown, we have the SmackDown Women's Championship, Naomi and Natalya. This is interesting because Natalya's been with the company for over a decade. And this is probably the biggest match she's been in a long time. And it's not on a meager in-your-house like pay-per-view. It's on an actual Big Four event. So if I'm WWE, I'm really scratching my head of what I do. I'm really clawing at the wall of what my decision could be. And honestly, it's a pick'em. Because I like Naomi. I think she's killing it as women's champion on SmackDown Live. I mean, they wouldn't be so behind Naomi you want to know how behind this company is with Naomi as SmackDown Women's Champion? They let her basically give her own flair to the coin of phrase, her own flair, her own style to the Women's Championship. Not many people get to do that unless the company is behind you and the company believes in you. But really, it's a pick'em. But if I was to go with anybody, I have to go with Naomi. I think it's going to be a decent matchup. I think Naomi's going to retain. And then we're going to get a Carmella cash-in. That's right. We'll get a Carmella cash-in. Natalya may sneak attack on Naomi out of frustration for losing, and that will open the door for Carmella to come in and cash in. But here's the twist. The X-Man, Solid Monster, Schleg Daddy, Don Tony, Kevin Castle, they could all say Carmella's getting the belt. And she probably is. She probably is. But it won't be at SummerSlam. The way they're building Carmella's character up with James Ellsworth, the way she's flaunting the fact that she's got the contract, she's got the briefcase, she's waiting in the wings, she's wishing both competitors good luck, they're setting Carmella up to fail. Just like they booked Baron Corbin tonight to fail in his cash-in, in which he did, on SmackDown Live, they're going to make Carmella fail. Why? Because they want to basically show, how do I put this? They want to show that if you say you're going to do it and you act all cocky about doing it and it's going to bite you in the butt. And that, I feel, is going to happen not just with Baron Corbin like it did tonight. It's going to happen with Carmella. Yeah, they might be high on her in some ways, but guess what? She's not going to get the belt at SummerSlam. She's going to get it probably at No Mercy, probably at Survivor Series or somewhere before the year's out, guaranteed. But she's not going to get it at SummerSlam because she's making herself too predictable. She's being booked to be too predictable. Oh, I'm going to cash in. What happens if she cashes? So here's what happens. So here's what I'm talking about. When I say they're booking her to be too predictable, they're booking her to fail. I'm picking Naomi to win, whether she gets sneak attack or not at the end. Here's what's going to happen. Carmella's going to try to cash in, and as soon as that bell rings, she's going to go right towards Naomi, try to pick her up, and Naomi's going to catch her in that submission of hers, and Carmella's going to tap out. Or she's going to get rolled up, and Carmella's going to get pinned. Why? Because Carmella became too predictable. That's what's going to happen. Now, I could be wrong, and I probably will be, but I don't think I am. So I don't think Carmella's going to get the belt just yet. She will before this year's out, guaranteed, but it won't be through cash-in. I think what's going on here with these cash-ins now, if you will, is it shows that bullies don't succeed. That bullies don't win, are not rewarded. I'm just saying. Now again, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. I really don't. So I picked Naomi to win, and I picked Carmella to fail in her cash-in. I think it's, because honestly, I think she's being set up to fail. I think that's what it is. They're booking her and setting her up to fail. It's just my opinion. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be. I really don't. She'll get the belt. Like I said, don't worry. But she ain't going to get it at SummerSlam. And she ain't going to get it through a cash-in. Now, going on to the Raw side of things. We got the Raw Women's Championship. We got the Raw Women's Championship. Sasha Banks challenging Alexa Bliss. Now, a lot of people have said this could be one of the better matches of the SummerSlam event because they proved to have a good match at, Battleground, I believe. Or Great Balls of Fire, I should say. So who's to say they won't have a good match here, if not better? The reason being is because there is real backstage animosity between the two. Yes, they can be professional, they can be a little professional and put that animosity to the side a little bit, but you can't tell me that Triple H or whoever's going to book this match to go the direction it may go in is not going to say let a little bit of that animosity and that hatred come out during this match. Let it flow as best you can, but stay professional. You can't tell me someone ain't telling them that right now, because they are. But the question is, who wins? Well, if you have Alexa retain, then where do you go from here with Alexa? Do you have a feud with Nia Jax? Do you bring up Asuka to be her next challenger? What do you do with her? There's not really much you can do. Yes, she's killing it as the Raw Women's Champion. But if you have this animosity, well, basically, in a shoot-like situation, your opponent basically says you don't care about the history of this business or the ins and outs about this business because you come from a gymnastics background. You think that's better. What are you going to do? Who are you going to put her up against? You're going to put her up against Mickie James? That'd be nice. The question is, what do you do with her? Like I said, she's killing it as champion, but when you have your opponent in a real-life situation, real-life shoot situation, say, you don't give a flying you-know-what about this business, you never really cared about this business because you think because you think the background you come from is better, I don't know what to say. I mean, Sasha, let's face it, she's over. And she's going to be the most over woman in that crowd. She's going to be one of the most over stars that night. Because it's in Brooklyn, but it's near, New York is near Massachusetts. You catch my drift. So she's going to have a lot of hometown people, a lot of hometown fans in the house. And they know about her history in that building. So the question is, does Sasha win? Do you keep it on Alexa? This right here is a toss-up. This is unpredictable. I don't know who to go with, honestly. Deluxe Man can go with Sasha. Other people can go with, everybody else can go with Sasha. Solid Monster might go with Sasha or even Alexa. Don Tony might be going to Alexa. I don't know. Truth is, to me, Alexa and Sasha is a toss-up. It is a toss-up. All I can say is whatever decision they come up with better be good. Better be good. Now, we go on to SmackDown again, and we have Randy Orton and Rusev. This ain't going on the pre-show. If it does, I'll be surprised. Because some would say that'd be humbling of a Randy Orton. But I don't think it's going on the pre-show. It might if they want a headline matchup, but I don't think so. The question is, where do you go with this? Do you give Randy the predictable win? Or do you give Rusev the win? That is the question. Now, if Road Dogg is writing the SmackDown portion for SummerSlam, then you would expect Randy Orton. But if the guy that used to write for NXT, that now writes for Raw and possibly SmackDown, is writing for the entire show for both brands, I can't think of his name right now, that people like and feel is doing probably the best job ever of any booker and writer, then I would expect Rusev to go over. See, again, this is a toss-up. But I'm going to go the predictable route. I hate to say it. I'm going to go Randy Orton. I think Randy's going to win. It's going to be a good matchup. I think Randy's going to fight himself somehow out of the accolade, and he's going to hit an RKO out of that. I don't know how, but I feel that's what's going to happen. So I predict Randy to go over. However, if that one guy, again, I'm trying to think of his name, I can't think of it right now, that everybody has been praising for his writing in NXT and now on the main roster is writing and booking the show, then I would say Rusev. But I'm going to go the safe route, and I'm going to say Randy. Speaking of Breakfast Club members, as the Shag Daddy would put it, John Cena against Baron Corbin. John Cena tonight cost Baron Corbin his cash-in. Basically distracted Baron, and I guess long enough for Jinder to roll him up and retain his championship, thus making Baron Corbin the third guy to fail in his Money in the Bank cash-in. So what do you do here? Do you have John Cena go over predictably? Or do you do what's best? What's right for business? You have Baron Corbin go over. See, again, this is a toss-up. It's all depending on who's booking the show, who's writing for the SmackDown side. I would say Baron Corbin should go over, and he should. He needs it more. He needs this victory over John more. And let's face it, him and John have faced each other before, and guess what happened? John beat him. So I'd say Baron needs it more. Because, like I said with Carmella, because I still believe Carmella's not going to successfully cash in either, Baron's going to get the WWE Championship before this year's out. Mark my words. But it just ain't going to be by cash-in. So you know he's going to want to exact some revenge on John for costing him his cash-in. And I expect Baron Corbin, my prediction, is Baron Corbin goes over. My prediction is Baron Corbin goes over in this matchup, beating John Cena. This is how I see it happening. John's going to go for an AA. He's going to probably hit an AA, and Corbin's going to kick out. And possibly on the second or third AA, which Corbin will probably kick out of the second one as well, Corbin is going to fight his way off and basically turn it into an end of days on John Cena. 1, 2, 3. And then that's it. John ends up losing to Baron. Baron probably does some post-match beat down, which writes John Cena off doesn't write John Cena off television completely, but just writes him off for maybe about a week or two to go do some filming for either the Bumblebee Transformer spinoff or finish some kind of filming for whatever movie he's in next. Like do some promotional work for Ferdinand, do some promotional work for Daddy's Home 2, you name it. It gives him that time, at least a week or two, to do that. So I predict Baron Corbin to win. I predict him to have a post-match beatdown on John. That would make John leave for about 2 weeks at least to promote his future movies coming out. Now we get back to Raw. Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt. Pretty much, it's going to be the Demon Finn Balor against the Eater of Worlds Bray Wyatt. But who wins? Who wins this match? Some people are saying that it's going to be in quick fashion because WWE don't give a damn about Bray Wyatt. Not even when he was champion. My prediction is I don't think it's going to be a quickie. It's going to be a fight. I think it's going to be a fight. And it's going to have a little bit of weirdness tossed into it. Expect some red liquid, a la New Blood, to come out and be used during this matchup by Bray Wyatt or be shown in some form or fashion or make an appearance in some form or fashion. Expect projections on the match just like at WrestleMania. Expect the Demon to have some kind of trick or 2 or 3 or 4 up his sleeve. All in all, expect a wild and crazy match. Wild and crazy match. And I'm not talking hardcore ECW style. I'm talking what the pink did I just see kind of match. Or what the pink were they trying to do kind of match. Expect that. Who wins? I'm going with the Demon persona of Finn Balor to get the win. And what will be a crazy you-know-what matchup that, again, will make you question what the heck did I just see. It may not be on the levels of the broken universe of TNA GFW, but it'll top, I've got a feeling, what you saw at WrestleMania between Bray and Randy. Now, speaking of SmackDown, and speaking of the WWE Championship, Jinder Mahal, Shinsuke Nakamura. How do you book this one? Here's two guys that if you would have told somebody 2 or 3 years ago that these guys would be in one of the semi-main events or one of the co-main events of one of WWE's Big Four pay-per-views for the WWE Championship, no one would have believed you. No one would have said, oh yeah, that's going to happen. I totally believe it. No, if you would have said that 3 or 4 years ago, no one would have believed you. And yet now, 3 or 4 years later, guess what? It's happening. Jinder Mahal, Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE Championship. Something nobody ever thought would happen or occur. But what direction do you go in? Do you keep it on the modern day Maharaja and build somebody else up to beat him? Or do you put it on Shinsuke Nakamura knowing you're in freaking hardcore wrestling country? This is where it becomes a toss-up. Because I guarantee you, if Road Dogg's booking this, he'll let Jinder go over. But if that other guy is booking this, Shinsuke goes over. So it's a toss-up. But again, if you would have told somebody 3 or 4 years ago this was going to happen, that this was going to be one of your main events of SummerSlam, no one would have believed you. And yet here we are. But who goes over? Well, I look at it this way. You want to keep the heat on Jinder? And you want to build up the next big babyface to beat him? You have Jinder go over. You have Jinder go over, and you build up whoever could be the next guy to beat him. You want to build up Chad Gable to be the guy that beats him? Build up Chad Gable. You want to build Aleister Black and bring Aleister Black and bring him up from NXT to SmackDown Live and have him beat Jinder for the title? Do that. It's all up to who is booking it. But the smart money, in my opinion, you got to go with Shinsuke Nakamura. And I'm not talking for the fact that, I'm a fan of Shinsuke's. I'm not talking about the fact that he's going to be beloved probably more so than any superstar in that building besides Sasha Banks and Brock Lesnar. The reason you do this is because it shows people that you are listening. You hear them. You hear what they're saying and you're giving them what they want. You're not saying, oh, we don't care what you say, we're doing what we want. You're listening to them. You're hearing them. You're giving them what they want. You're showing that you give a damn about this business, about the future of your company, and about turning things around. So my prediction is Shinsuke Nakamura. I believe it's the bet. I believe the time is right. I believe the time is now. And you know what it does? From a WWE perspective, even though the brand split's been going on for over a year now, it makes up for the fact that the guy you put the Universal Championship on, the inaugural Universal Championship on last year, was injured, got laid out with an injury during the match and had to vacate the belt the day after. This makes up for it by having someone that's similar in style holding your top prize, your top prize in your company holding it and basically being as a sorry to the fans because you wanted to give him Finn, you did, but it backfired because he got injured. Now you can make it up to them by giving them someone similar in style to Shinsuke Nakamura. And if you want people attending your shows, you want people watching your program, that this is the guy that's going to do it. So if I'm WWE, I go with Shinsuke Nakamura. That's where the money is. So I'm going Shinsuke. Speaking of championships, that brings us to what's going to close out the show. The fatal four-way for the WWE Universal Championship. Stipulation added in: if Brock loses, he leaves. It's not going to probably happen since Brock is booked for a lot of other Raw shows and SmackDown shows. You got Brock Lesnar defending against Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, and Samoa Joe. Sorry, my thumb hit the mic there. This, for Samoa Joe, is probably the biggest match of his career besides Great Balls of Fire. Because he's going to be closing out a WWE Big Four pay-per-view. And again, it goes back with Shinsuke. If you would have told people 3 or 4 years ago, while he was in TNA still, that Samoa Joe was going to close out and main event a WWE Big Four pay-per-view, no one would have believed you. If you would have said that 3 or 4 years ago, no one would have believed you. But yet, here we are. It's happening. You would have said that a TNA original, in a sense, and Samoa Joe was going to close out a WWE pay-per-view, especially a Big Four one like SummerSlam, no one would have believed you, but yet here it is. But yeah, like I said, if you would have told me Joe 3 or 4 years ago was going to main event a Big Four WWE pay-per-view like SummerSlam, I would have said you'd be joking. I think everybody would be. But the question is, where do they go from here? Well, stipulation is if Lesnar loses, he leaves. Apparently that's not going to happen since he's booked for television and other live events. The only reason they put that stipulation in is for intrigue and most importantly to tie in with the whole John Jones situation. I see Brock Lesnar retaining, and I see him F5ing Samoa Joe again. I see him maybe going on a German suplex rampage, but I think the moment he tries to do it to Strowman's going to surprise him and start, beating the hell out of him. It's going to basically be like this. Basically, what's going to happen is it's going to be a showcase for Lesnar and Strowman basically showing Lesnar, hey, I'm the only one that you can't really beat the crap out of. So I predict not the prettiest fatal four-way, but I predict a decent one. It may surprise us, but I do predict a decent one. And I predict that it's going to be a showcase for Strowman and Lesnar, and that's going to build towards their match at the next Raw pay-per-view in September. So I predict, but honestly, I predict Lesnar to win just like everybody else is. And we'll just see what happens and go from there. But overall, those are just my thoughts, my predictions on how SummerSlam 2017 will go down. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. And I am out. God bless. Take care.